Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Three very important topics for this video. First one, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of the Jewish state Israel, is going to be arrested if he sets foot in Poland to mark the 80th anniversary of that Auschwitz camp. That's the first one. Second one, do you think it's going to happen? Well, we're going to discuss that one. The second topic, the Prime Minister, the ballsy Prime Minister of Slovakia visits the evil guy, Putin, the President of the Russian Federation. He's going to bend the knee. Why is he visiting Putin? Well, you're going to find out in this video. And the last topic, Moldova, that I would say non-country, I will explain why, threatens to attack its own territory, or Transnistria, where some Russian troops are located, about 800 Russian troops, peacekeeping troops. So I will show you maps where Miss Sandu, the president of the Republic of Moldova, tries to invade Transnistria, probably destroy the Russians over there, and the Russians will just be... So, as I said in many of my videos in the past, Moldova is activated. Romania might be next. Why Moldova? Moldova is not a NATO country, so could be used with no, how do you call it? No consequences for NATO. No consequences. So get ready, my fellow Moldovans, or Romanians, however we want to call them. And I will explain why I consider Moldova not a legitimate state right here. It should have gone back where it was taken from, which is Romania. But you know, from some thieves to different thieves, still thieves. Bigger thieves. All right, let's start with the first topic. Russia Today, the 22nd of December 2024. Poland threatens to arrest Netanyahu at Auschwitz. Warsaw has to comply with the International Criminal Court's decisions, the Deputy Foreign Minister has said. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu would be arrested if he attends next month's ceremonies marking the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz in Poland. The EU country's Deputy Foreign Minister Władysław Bartoszewski told the newspaper Rzeczpospolita on Friday, something like this. Warsaw's top diplomat stated that Poland, as a signatory of the Rome Statute, is obliged to comply with the directives of the International Criminal Court, ICC. In November, ICC issued warrants for the arrests of Netanyahu and former Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, citing alleged war crimes related to the ongoing conflict in Gaza. So, it ain't gonna happen. Ain't. First, I don't think Netanyahu will show up, and he might because he's got chutzpah. First, Poland will do what the Americans are telling them to do. The Americans said the countries who threatened to arrest Netanyahu, this was Mr. Lindsey Graham, the senator, that baboon. He said the countries and allies who threatened to arrest our friend Netanyahu or our boss Netanyahu will be destroyed. He said we're going to impose economic sanctions on you, we're going to fuck you up, basically. So Poland, which is America's lapdog in Europe, and not only lapdog, is the Trojan horse. You know, Germany is not a Trojan horse. Germany is United States. All right, that's what it is. Great Britain is the house servant of United States in on the plantation. So Poland will not arrest Netanyahu. I guarantee you that, and they will claim immunity or something, and they will point to the Mongolians who did not arrest Putin. Remember, Putin traveled to Mongolia, and Mongolia also is a signatory state of the ICC, and they didn't, so they would probably point to that. So there's no justice if it's selective justice, or there's no law if it's selective law, when you just apply it selectively whenever you feel like. Poland will not arrest Bibi. They own Poland. You'll see that. All right. And he's going to show up probably just to make a point to all the baboons who need to be shown that who's in charge, mother. All right, that's the first one. We'll wait. Probably they're going to invoke some privileges, like remember Mr. BS, Mohammed bin Salman, the prince ruler of Saudi Arabia, when they said, we're going to arrest him if he shows up in America or something like this. And they said, well, he's got immunity. You can't arrest him or something like that. They're going to find a little thing. All right, next topic. And that comes from Russia. Russia Today. Putin meeting was response to Zelensky's threats, EU States Prime Minister. Now, courageous Mr. Fico, an assassination attempt was conducted on him, if you remember. He got shot a few times. He survived, thank God. Then, if you remember, he claimed, I made a video, I think, yesterday or 2 days ago, where he claimed that Zelensky tried to bribe him with 500 million euros, which is about 500, let's say, $20 million from the Russians' assets receipts. So Zelensky had at his disposal 500, according to Fico, the prime minister, and I believe Fico more than the big liar, with $500 million from the Russians, stolen assets frozen by the good Western people who like contracts. A contract is a contract, but they can seize your property whenever they feel like. Right? The reason? I'm good, you're bad. Says who? I do. All right, and you don't have the right to do the same thing. No, no, no. Unless we allow you. Why? Because we are in charge somehow. And these guys are talking about the Russians' imperialistic move and mood. When these guys have been at it for the what? 200, 300, 400 years already. Anyway, and I'm not talking about the Americans only. So let's see what these guys are saying. Slovakia's Robert Fico has shared details of his discussions with Russian president. Slovak Prime Minister had held meeting with Vladimir Putin during his surprise visit, we knew that yesterday, to Russia, stating that he had arranged the trip to further promote Bratislava's sovereign policies. You can't be sovereign, you have to belong to a club, you have protection clubs here. After meeting Putin at the Kremlin on Sunday evening, Fico posted a comment on Facebook providing insight into their discussion and noting that EU leaders were informed of the purpose of his trip in advance. So he told the masters, hey, I'm going to go to visit my neighbor here to have a play day. And I'm quoting, my meeting today was a response to Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, who, answering my personal question on Thursday, said that he was against any transit of gas through Ukraine to our territory. So that is an economic genocide. Fico explained, or a sanction. Fico explained he noted that Ukrainian leader has also been lobbying his EU supporters to impose sanctions against the Russian nuclear energy sector. In its brief readout of the meeting, the Kremlin stated only that Putin hosted Fico for a working visit. Fico stated that he had a long conversation with Putin, during which they discussed mutual relations between Russia and Slovakia, which he intends to standardize. They also exchanged views on military situation in Ukraine. Earlier this week, Fico accused Zelensky of attempting to bribe him with 500 million euros, which is about 521, I was close, $million, to persuade Bratislava to support Kiev's bid to join NATO. He recalled that during their talks, the Ukrainian leader declined to allow the transit of fuel and instead offered absurd proposals to resolve the gas issue. All right. You're not a friendly country if you blackmail me whatsoever. I think Slovakia is being blackmailed, not only by Zelensky, by Zelensky's masters and so on. So Bratislava, I predict, is going to have a rough economic situation. Why? Because the investors will just make a tacit sanction on the country. Why? You don't do what I tell you? I'm not going to punch you in the face yet. I will do this to you. I will impose sanctions on you, and I will make you come and do. If not, we're going to make a little, regime change or something like that. So this is the meeting between Putin and Fico. We have about two more articles here. Sputnik, Putin and Fico discussed Ukraine bilateral ties and gas in Moscow. Now, I want to show you something though. See this picture? It's a decent picture. Two people facing the camera. Here, a decent picture, you see? Pop, 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 pop. And then we have here This is a picture provided by New Voice of Ukraine. Putin and Fico discuss gas transit and international agenda in Kremlin meeting. What do you see? What do you think this picture tries to invoke? This is the baby boy, the pupil, the student waiting for the master to show up like an obedient dog. This is what this picture wants to show you. That's not this, which would be, accurate, equals. Not this. No. He came to see his master. This is what these guys are. This is the Ukrainians. It's just, I don't blame them. I mean, they're at war with, not the Ukrainians, the West through Ukraine with Russia. But I just want to draw your attention to that picture. And let's see what Miss Sandu, the president of that thing, Moldova, is threatening to do. She wants to take over the peacekeepers, not the peacekeepers, how do you call that? Power station in Transnistria, which is guarded by some Russian peacekeeping forces. I'm not going to go into the history of what happened with Transnistria and why the Russians are over there, good or bad. The thing is, we start now. Yeah, I think Transnistria is their issue over there with Romania. Russia has nothing to do with Transnistria, but now they want to have something to do with it. Why? Well, like you have 740 bases all around the world. These guys try to keep their little contingent over there closer to you. Keep your enemies close, or your friends close, and your enemies closer, like NATO did. Went towards Russia each and every year with a NATO expansion. But hey, the Russians are the expansionists, not NATO, no. And if the NATO countries are, or the defensive organization, alliance, is expanding, is to promote good, safety, okay? But the Russians, no. All right, so let me show you this baboonish, what she did. Moldova President Sandu plans to seize Transnistria power station. This is according to Russians. Is it true? We're going to find out. And EU candidates? President eyes attack on Russia's peacekeepers, Moscow. So Moldova's Maia, Sandu, has reportedly proposed taking control of the breakaway region of Transnistria. Russian intelligence officials have claimed. Now this is reporting, my friends. Claimed. All right? So this is she's on the payroll of the same guys the Romanians are at this point. According to the agency, Sandu became emotionally unstable at a recent meeting with government officials over Ukraine's decision to cut the flow of Russian gas to Moldova, triggering fears of an energy crisis in the EU candidate state. Romania will provide them with gas, I guarantee you that, extra price. Kiev has refused to reopen talks with Moscow on any further transit. Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico recently met with Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky to discuss the matter, but was unable to salvage the agreement. The news met with reported exasperation in Moldova, which is heavily reliant on Russian gas. In a statement on Monday, the SVR claimed that Sandu's government is preparing to escalate tensions in the region, potentially targeting the Chichurgan, I will show you where that is, power plant, which supplies about or around 75% of Moldova's electricity. According to the agency, Sandu has discussed removing Russian peacekeepers and reasserting Chisinau's control. EU officials were allegedly clutching their hands and do not know how to calm down the emotionally unstable Sandu. No, they don't try to. They will push her. NATO is going to be interested of America. Yeah, maybe not the Europeans, but guarantee you is the Americans. Sandu categorically refused to discuss this issue with Ukraine. She's following orders. And pinned the blame on Russia. She threatened to take it out on Transnistria if Moscow fails to deliver gas to Moscow. She reportedly orders criminal cases against the breakaway region's leaders for separatism and instructed officials to harass residents crossing the border. All right, the meeting ended with Sandu discussing the need for a military operation to seize control over Transnistria and remove Russian peacekeepers, leaving EU officials visibly shocked, the SVR alleged. Alleged, you see, this is journalism. Alleged, claim. This is the EU officials were over there. So, this is the first one. The second one is the same thing. The president was not sobered by the reminder that the right bank of Moldova, which is Moldova right here, this is the right bank right here, and this is the left bank. Okay, the right bank of Moldova is almost entirely dependent on electricity supplies from the Chuchurgan power station in Transnistria. I will show you where that is. After flying into a rage, the president demanded that the preparations be made for a violent seizure of the power station. Okay, let's go to Transnistria. So maybe go start with this one. So this is Ukraine. I want to show you in the context of the war why this is important. This is the Black Sea. This is the Crimean Peninsula. This is where the war occurs. And this is the thing Moldova called, all right? And this is Transnistria, the little thing right here. Right, this is it, the little separatist. Now you know where it's at. Why Moldova is an, I would say, illegitimate country? Because this, look at my strong hand here. This is Romania here. The baboons here are here, all right, this way. So this part where my hand is, and I'm going to go like this, and almost to Odessa. All this thing was taken by Stalin, by Soviet Union, not by Russia, by Soviet Union, through an ultimatum in 1940. Romanians gave it, did not fight for it like the Serbs would. So that's why I like the Serbs. So they gave it to Stalin, gave it to Soviet Union, and then Stalin took this, which is the North Bukovina. There's a south of Bukovina, which is like this. So gave it to Ukraine, like Khrushchev gave in 1954, if I remember correctly, Crimea from Russia to Ukraine. And then the Stalin took this, the Soviets took this part of Bessarabia, which is half of Moldova. This is Moldova. This is Moldova. So this is Bessarabia, and gave it to Ukraine. So these were given by the evil, not the Russians, by the Soviets with Mr. Stalin to Ukraine. And then they created this little country, which was the Soviet Socialist Republic of Moldova. Like they created the Socialist Soviet Republic of Ukraine and so on. And then after the fall of the Soviet Union, all this should have come back to Romania, where it was taken from. That's why this is an illegitimate country now. But since it was an understanding between the Soviets or / Russians in 1991 regarding Moldova, and they decide, no, Moldova is not going to come back where it was taken from, we're going to create a country over there. We just decide. We're going to create a country, and the Romanians were told stand down when the the Romanians in Moldova were waiting for the Romanian authorities to show up in 1990 to sign the documents. They didn't go for unification. Nevertheless, my point is this. If I go and by force, I take his car and say, mother, I'm Stalin. I'm going to give me your car. The guy is afraid to fight me. He gives me his car. I drive the car for about, I don't know, from 60 years or let's say 50 years, or something like that. Right? I drive the car and then I die. What should happen with the car? Should the car just be left somewhere on the street by itself, being its own owner? Or the car should be given back to the owner where it was taken from aggressively? Of course, it would have been given back to the country that was taken from, which was Romania. So that's why for me, Moldova shouldn't exist as Moldova. You can feel insulted how much you want. But personally, I don't care, because I think those guys are mafia, and in Romania, the same thing. So from that mafia over there, that's why they don't want to unify. They have the little mafia, little neighborhood. Now, if they're going to go in a bigger neighborhood, the mafia guys in Moldova will be little ones and will be swallowed by the big guys. I want to be in charge of my house. But if my house unites with a bigger house, I'm not going to be in charge of my house. They will be in charge of my house. That's why I don't want to unite with them. So that's the whole purpose. So what do you think these guys will do? Let me show you now the maps where the chuchur station is. So this is Transnistria right here. It's east of Moldova. And then the power station is right here in the south. I'm going to show you clearly on this map. This is the power station. You see it? From Chuchurgan power. This is Ukraine. This is Moldova. So here is the power station that supplies 75% of the energy to Moldova, right there. All right, you see that? This is in the south, and that is right here, in this area, or in this area by there, right there. This is where the power station is. So what do you think will happen? I think the Moldovans, the Romanians, will be activated to go over there. The troops, the Russian peacekeeping troops, however you want to call them, occupation, I don't care. The matter of the fact is, those guys are there. What are you going to do with them? It's like, let's say, the Syrians would have attacked the Americans illegally deployed in Syria. The Americans would have flattened Syria. Remember, there were 800 or 900 American troops illegally deployed in northeastern Syria. Right now, they upped it to about 2,000. They were never attacked by the Syrian government. Why? On their own country. Now, these guys want to attack those guys. Good or bad, the Russians. What do you think the Russians will do? We're going to start sending missiles to Chisinau and other areas. And what will Europe do? Oh, we got new blood here to fight our wars. And not Europe. The guys in charge of Europe and the United States of America. So Netanyahu will not be arrested. Putin and Fico, obviously Fico goes over there for Slovakia's self-interest. Why should I go to where you tell me to buy my groceries? America or whomever is behind you? No, we know who they are. Well, that's exactly what happened with Japan. People say, oh, this day will live in infamy, blah, 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 blah. The 7th of December 1941 when the Japanese attacked, not the United States of America, because at that time Pearl Harbor was not part of the United States of America, okay? Was not a state, but nevertheless, they attacked our facility, our navy, our sailors, and so on. We went after that. It was unprovoked, like the Ukraine war, unprovoked. But if you look back a little bit, like the same in Ukraine, you find out that the Americans told the Japanese, you can't go and get your resources from Indochina. You can't go and buy rubber from there. You can't get your resources. Japan is a poor country as resources. It needs to buy from somewhere. America told them, no, we're here. You stay over there. So that means, like I tell you, you can't go and buy in this cheap grocery store your groceries or that. No, you have to go, I don't know, across the world to buy it very expensive your groceries. What would you? You want to punch me in the face? I'm not justifying the Japans, but what do? You either are a baboon and start crying over there in your safe space and holding your pussy and you do what I tell you, or you're gonna look for me when I don't look at you and try to knock me out, like in Tsushima, 1904, remember? In Tsushima, the Battle of Tsushima, which was not a battle, the Japanese, again, surprise attack on the Tsar's fleet in Tsushima, by Vladivostok, and it sank the whole fleet. Russia was like knocked out. It worked then, but with the Americans, it didn't. And by the way, the Americans had they decodified the coding machine of the Japanese. So they kind of knew what's going on. The same thing with the Enigma in Europe. When that plane was shut down, got the Enigma to the Poles. The Poles get it to the British. And the Westerners knew the communication of the German military. So that's how they won. No, that's how. It was the reason how they won. They knew the communication. Good for them. That's called war. But just so you know, pieces of information, how we did certain things. Good for them. They got the Enigma. They decipher it. Good for them. But the same here. Things are a little bit more, this and that. Nah, it's more to the story. All right. And Maia Sandu will do that to Russia. And Russia will hit that. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.